now.
Yes, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, Chris.
That's all I had.
The only meeting I had was Friday's DOT meeting, which was closed session, and I don't think we can really talk about any of the changes they proposed yet. So that's really all I got.
Okay, all three of us attended Friday. I had workforce development meeting Friday afternoon. It was a couple 3 hours. Moving forward, got more meetings coming up this week. Other than that, trying to get people to work. That's it. Payroll changes. There's one I passed around. You guys will see it.
Got it. It looked like just a step is all it was.
Yep,
right?
step increase.
Yeah.
Input.
I have something I'd like to say. A couple of weeks ago, Sean, I came to you, I'd have everybody's attention to, and ask you about how much money we make or lose off of the solar farm south of Wapello. Mm-hmm. You said you had gotten an email from Adam Parsons. Mm-hmm. Would you like to tell me if what that said on there about our revenue from the solar farm?
For my information, we lose roughly $100,000 a year compared to what we would have got on property taxes compared to they give us a bunch of lump sum every year on
and Adam would verify that too. I think that should go in the minutes, and so before we make another mistake like that. Along with that, and I'm definitely against the windmills. And Jim, you might want to put that in the paper too, so it's not covered up right now.
I haven't had anybody approach me personally on windmills.
Has anyone else personally had anybody? Because Henry County, it's a hot topic over there, and it's just going to make the countryside look really good out there when you look out my window. And there's things like shadow flashing that people have to have their curtains closed all the time during the daytime for that sort of nonsense.
So now there was some discussion.
Other things.
I'd like to see that report from Adam also.
There was some discussion with another solar farm down in the Muscatine Bottoms in Louisa County, but I don't know how far that's gotten so far.
Yeah, someone said they pulled their permit here.
That was about 6 months ago.
I heard that too, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to point it out that how good that was for the county. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I guess I got something.
Yeah.
My name is Hunter McClary. I'm here for Woodland Mobile Home Park. We've been having a issue lately with heavy machinery turning around in our park, especially at our second entrance. Mostly anything working on the roads and especially garbage trucks. Now this continues to rip up our gravel roads, and I'm the one that typically repairs them. But this issue kind of escalated a bit last month, where the mail decided to stop delivering mail because our roads were in too bad a condition at the second entrance due to garbage trucks and other heavy machinery turning around there competitively.
So what's that got to do with us?
I was told to come here and talk to you guys about it.
Garbage trucks and mail trucks?
Garbage trucks and anything working on the roads. Really,
The garbage truck is a privately owned company, so you'll have to contact the garbage people for that.
Okay.
Postal again is government, we're not controlled, we don't control postal companies, so you'll have to contract the post office if that's a concern. Now, I'm not unaware, and we can ask Adam when he comes in here, if the county trucks were responsible for maintainers or dump trucks that a county owns, if they're turning around there, we can ask him.
We do have a few of those as well that turn around at our second entrance.
Yeah.
Our gravel roads aren't packed, so any like thing larger than a regular car that drives on it just rips it right up.
Well, we'd be happy to talk to Adam about that part because we have control over that. But the other ones, you'll have to contact those people for that.
All right.
Now, do you have trash service out there?
Huh?
You have trash service? Is that why they're coming out there or?
No, I don't at all. They come down, they drive down right over the gravel. They don't seem to do anything. They just back up, go into my park, turn around and drive right on out. And
And
it
it must be the end of their route, I'm guessing, and
Yeah.
they're turning around in that one. So you'll have to talk to them about that.
I was just told to,
No, that's
talk to
fine.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta start somewhere, right?
you know,
And we're here to tell you what we can control, and but Adam will be here. If you want to stay here, Adam will be in here a little bit.
Yeah.
Our engineer, and we can.
Was it dump trucks or road graders is what you're saying?
I don't know I've never actually personally seen the road stuff do it. I've been told that it's also them. I'm, for the most part, when stuff turns around, I'm not in the park at that time.
I'd be surprised if it was the county, because normally they just continue down the road. They're maintaining the road. There would really be no reason for the county to turn around in that driveway to come back, but we'll certainly ask him. I'm not saying it isn't, but.
Yeah, I've been informed that it was also the road construction and all that, because the stuff I ever see is the school bus, but at least they actually don't drive 20 miles an hour through the air to turn around like that.
Right.
Then you got the garbage trucks, I see there constantly, and then the mailman who drives like 40 miles an hour down that road.
Okay. Fair enough.
Any other input? Okay. Let's look at the claims.
Have we gotten the insurance checks back for the collision work on the sheriff's cars? Have we got
There,
them?
we've gotten 3.
Okay. I just seen a couple in here with Brandon's body shop, and I've seen the cars over there, so. What's our deductible on the squad cars, do you know?
I'd have to look it up. I think it's less than 1,000, but I think I could be right. I want to say like 1,200 or something.
I wonder how much difference it would be if we lowered the deductible on the squad cars. Cause they seem to be the ones that get the majority of the damage. I venture to say between 4 and 6 a year end up going to a body shop.
Here lately.
Yeah. You have the claims down there in front of you?
Yeah.
I thought I didn't give you the sheet.
No, I got that.
So I thought I handed you down.
Well, it's usually full, so that's a good thing. It's not full.
Hey, Adam, I got a question. Randy brought up that Sean called you and said that it was 100,000 we lost on the solar panels for taxes. Is that just based on taxes? Is that figured in excise tax?
That's the difference between the rural, the agricultural property tax revenue and the excise tax. It's the agricultural property tax minus excise.
So did you see where they broke that out for on the excise tax?
I don't know.
And Katie Walker was one who did all those reports that I gave you, and
I've got a stack of papers in my desk that's high over that stuff.
Katie had done that figuring of that stuff,
I
and
have
I
all
just
that.
passed it all on,
Yeah.
so I don't have any of that anymore, but.
They'll get a countywide number.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
So we was getting
Or
roughly,
just otherwise a county budget.
right. We was getting on excise tax. I haven't seen that number yet this year. We was getting right around $500,000. And that include the power plant, the gas company, all the power lines. So they broke, how we break that out? That's what I'm trying to see.
It would be the increase in the excise tax from the year that the power plant went operational, we started getting excise tax from it. Minus the year before what we got in agricultural property tax from that property.
Yeah. Because we've called the state many times trying to get that number, and I just wonder how it got broke out. Has anybody heard directly from the state on that portion of that? Because we get so many, it's mixed in with so much stuff. And if the power plant idles all year, then that's based on that tax.
Right, it's by production.
Yeah, so I'm just confused if that number is actual. There's so many variants to it. That's what I want to find out. We've never got an answer from the state. And it's well protected how they figured that.
Well, as far as like the excise tax, yeah, but I mean, we know that the excise tax revenue didn't make up for the lost property tax revenue, $500,000 a year.
Wonder where we can get that break on that. Is it Rob Sands where we need to go to?
Probably Department of Management.
That's right. When I pull the utilities to print the utility property tax statements to go to like Eastern Iowa Light and Power, that all pulls straight from the Department of Management. I just pull the file and ship it out to get them printed. So that's where that's pulled from. So maybe I can get it from there. I'm not, I can try, I can look.
I really would like to have it where it breaks it out. I mean, that's to make a comment on that power. Why is that power not taxed the same as other powers?
Well, it is, it's just that solar power is, for the amount of land it takes up, doesn't produce as much energy as like coal or nuclear.
Well, it's only 22% output per year. It's very low compared to. But I'd like to look into that a little bit more.
Hurt.
Yeah, we need to know what we're saying.
Yeah, all we know right now is that it decreased our revenue by $100,000 a year. We know that.
Did the state rearrange their portion of what we get?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Always makes me wonder.
We just know what the result was.
Yep.
Adam, you said it decreases our,
That's my understanding. Our
Okay,
tax
thank you.
revenue by
I couldn't understand, I couldn't hear you if you said increase or decrease.
decrease. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my understanding.
The 11 and 12.
I don't see that resolution. There's 11.
That's the cost. Allocation or acid. And I'm just.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I've done. Yeah, Roger and. Just consider.
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
I think you've got,
Yes.
you have that, it's one of our paper copies. I get a copy of that and scan it, and maybe send it out to everybody, so there's, electronic copy.
The stuff I gave you.
Oh, yeah, it's at my office, the shop.
Or if you could just, yeah, it's large, just drop it over, and the secretary scan it, otherwise you can scan it. Send it to me, that'd be fine,
I will.
too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. You guys want to do 11?
You got, what did you get?
Number 11.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 202413, setting elected official wages for fiscal year 25 at 0.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
My hand was the more than so. Okay, here's the one.
I have.
And 8 transports last month.
Okay, I'll make a motion to sign. Review and sign the cost allocation service report for indirect expenditures. I'll let you read it before you second. The second page is.
Would you bring the Eastern Iowa application to the regular? Yes, CDO.
So what does this do exactly? This,
Betsy. That cost of,
yeah,
it's our indirect costs are like Department of Human Service. And we get reimbursed every quarter.
It's in dark print on the second paragraph of the second page. We get like 90,000 quarterly.
we have to claim our,
It's kind of a racket for. They help us get federal money to help with the state money on DHS.
okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue about getting money.
But yeah, that's
I'll second that.
okay.
Any discussion?
I think we've had it.
Okay. All in favor?
Bye.
Adam, this young man's here about the trailer park Woodland.
Okay.
And had some concerns on heavy equipment turning around in his driveway. Garbage trucks, school buses. Perhaps our stuff, I'm not sure. We've already directed him that he'll have to contact the garbage company for that and the postal service. Our question to you is, do we have any of our county trucks that use his driveway to turn around in that you know of?
The actual,
That would be the second drive.
The street, the second street.
you're talking about the West Street.
Yeah,
yeah, the trailer park.
farthest west drive, yeah.
Nothing I know of. I don't know that we would. Maybe if we're plowing snow, we might go down there, push to the end of that, back up and turn around and come back the other way.
So could you check with the guys and maybe put something in place to, if they are, to avoid that, doing that?
Well, I guess it's a driveway on a public road. I know that we might do some damage to it, but the damage within the trailer park is so much worse than anything that we could ever do. You know, I mean, I'll tell them to be careful, but they've got problems beyond anything we ever do. I mean, they don't have any maintenance out there anyway, so I'm not sure.
He's here just to ask the question.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I'll let them know to be careful. Right?
Okay.
So.
Fair enough. Young man, is that good enough?
Good for me.
Okay.
Hey, have you looked at the claims, Brad, or are you gonna
Yep, I went through.
be comfortable with them?
Yeah.
The motion.
Make a motion to approve the claims for. Well, is it this month, last month? We'll get the date on. Regular date. March 5th. There you go, March 5th, there.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Adam, would you give us an update, please?
Sure. First item on the agenda is the approve Eastern Iowa Light Power Cooperative's application for approval of construction on the West County right away. We're gonna place some underground cable on 65th, just west of County X37. And from X37 out to Friend's house, kind of west there. They're gonna put in some sort of a switch thing where they can monitor that better. It really isn't anything special or out of the ordinary. So
That'll be number 13, guys. Okay, that's to make a motion in a second.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Eastern Iowa Power Light Cooperative's application for approval of construction on the Louisa right of way to place cable on 65th Street, just west of X37.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Yesterday I went to a pre-construction meeting, over in, Fairfield. For the, Highway 92 project. Their late start date on that thing is April 1st. They're talking about maybe getting started a week or so ahead of time. There's a little patching that they're gonna do on, X17 north of 92. For us, there's some spots that don't quite meet their standards, so my understanding of the project is they're gonna begin working west to east. They're gonna start over at the 92 to 18 interchange and work their way east. Detour on G36 and X17 is April through October approximately. During that period, that will be Highway 92. So they'll do all maintenance and all management there and all that. So, you know, traffic on that road is 700 vehicles a day, and it could bump up to a couple thousand. So just thing to be prepared about. They're supposed to provide all signage to tell people to, you know, go on that route. We have concerns about traffic, you know, on gravel because it's the quickest route. The county is going to erect some additional signs up, say local traffic only and things like that. You know, if it gets too bad, we can always do a construction project and close it.
How about embargo?
Well, the problem with the embargo is you have to have scales to be able to do what way. Plus, the gas plant is still using the road for their well pumping. Then, you know, if it's April 1st, we're gonna have a bunch of tractors and things like that out there. So it's an embargo for just the people there. So we're hoping the local capital thing helps to reduce some of it. I have had people, you know, already complaining about the traffic, and I said I understand that DOT doesn't do anything proactively. So once traffic gets there, we get complaints. I got the number of the guy at the DOT, and we'll start working on getting dust control. You know, the vehicles there, 150 to 200 is what it's on the DOT mapping anyway. You know, depending on the time of year, it can be more than that. So
It was last time.
yeah. So they've got a little bit better detour signage, I believe, this time. Things I know, I believe their concrete plant is going to operate out of Fredonia at the sand plant. So we're gonna have some trucks making that trip. And I've talked to them about speed and safety and all that. Something we're gonna have to keep up on. So anyway, there's gonna be a lot of activity in the area. They think they're gonna have first section paved by October, open the road back up over the winter, and then do wheelies into town 2025. So that's the plan. That's the plan as I understand it. So
When will that begin again?
April 1st, approximately. They would like to get in sooner, but they've got to do some patching on our roads, and there aren't any contractors that have workforce available right now.
Weather permitting, obviously.
Yep. So that's what's going on there. It's gonna bring up something I forgot about a little bit. Those signs for the Purple Heart thing. I did get DOT blessing to put them at the entrances or to buy them, give them to the DOT, and they will put them at the entrances to the county on the paved state highways.
Great.
So I've been meaning to get that done, and just haven't, so. Other than that, we are doing a bunch of blading. We were pulling shoulders on some of our gravel roads. We were overworking Indian Creek area. Had some complaints for a couple people were pretty irate, but after I got done, they're like, "Oh, that's fine." So basically, gravel roads, lots of times, you know, the road begins like this and gets flattened, and then all the material gets pushed out to the outside, and sometimes there's a lip there, right? And that lip, as water runs off, it gets trapped along the side, it soaks in and makes the road bad. So especially now, before the grass is on, we will come in with our blade and pull that material back up onto the road. And then it's got dirt and grass with it, and then we've got a chewer, that's what we call it. It breaks up those clumps and spreads it out. And then we'll spread out the material on the road. And in addition to grass and dirt, it also brings up rocks, right? And the rock adds to the crown and all that. And then after we're done, we'll rock it. And so that's a standard thing we do. I know the operator who had that district before didn't really do as much of it. So our new guy, he was instructed to get after it, and he is. So anyway, just in case there's any complaints, there's a plan out there, and something we do every year, and part of gravel road maintenance. So any questions, anything from me?
On that maintenance of the road, I'm more worried about when they're finished. What's their plans once the detours finish? What are they gonna do is there like a term?
So we after we're done, we've got two options. One, to look at any damages made and have them repaired, or we could take the farm to market payment for traffic times months times whatever. So I know for the golf course road, I think it was like $13,000 is what we got, and there really wasn't any damage to the roads, right? A little bit lesser of a road there, and not as much traffic and all that. But so if we get through it and there's no damages, we'll get a payment for $20,000 or something like that. So if there is damages, we'll have them fix it. So,
But wouldn't the damages occur possibly many months later?
Well, that's what you get your $25,000 for, or whatever.
Right, but it ain't gonna pay for a bridge. It ain't gonna pay for pavement. 25,000 is gravel.
You know, I understand and agree with it, but that's state law, and it's another one of those unfunded mandates, right? So,
Okay. Anything else for Adam, guys? Thanks, Adam. I want to give you this really.
I'll forget about it. So
yeah. Okay, Adam, I think
I can send this up. So
we got you down for 9:15, so I want to get a little closer.
it's just
Is he gonna join us on Zoom?
Yeah, I think at 9:30.
Oh, okay.
I think there was gonna be time for
Okay.
us to talk about.
Okay,
questions
got it.
I have for him. I've been talking with him in the meantime, and Selena, and I'm looking at additional reports that aren't included in the audit report to explain some of the numbers in the audit report. And so I think, my questions are kind of answered. My main concern was so the 2022 audit report showed us, deficit spending of about $600 and some odd thousand, and then having a fund balance in the general fund of about $600 and some odd thousand. And so if that continued, we would be in a deficit at the end of fiscal year 2024. 23, sorry. And it didn't show that, it showed in the draft report, it shows a fund balance in the general fund of $1.4 million. Well, their explanation for that was, that because of, usually there's not a big difference between cash basis accounting and accrual accounting, which the county uses cash basis and the auditor uses accrual. But in this case, the auditor or High Bailey, our independent auditor, didn't put in the ARPA fund revenue until it was reported as expended to the federal government, which would have been in the last fiscal year. And so they put that $2 million in. So then knowing that we've spent that $2 million again this year, that explains the difference, because 2 million minus 1.4 is, 600,000 in the hole, plus the raises that they didn't know about at this time of 10% was about $500,000. So then that $500,000 plus the 600,000 gets us to about where we're at right now. So that made sense to me then once they explained that. I don't know if you guys have questions or.
Can we have the accountant and the county do the same thing?
I asked about that. So I can remember when we switched from accrual to cash basis. And I wasn't really clear on why. I think it was sometime probably early in Sandy's tenure, maybe, best of my memory. But Brian, our auditor from Bailey, said no, that's not necessarily a problem. In a normal year, it wouldn't make much difference. And that most counties across the state do use cash, just like we do now. And the auditors are required to use accrual, so they're used to making that transition. And there's a separate document that they produce that's not in the audit report, but Selena has access to, and he pointed me in the direction of it. She was able to pull it off. What is that system, that SureLink or whatever system is?
SureLink, that's a secure system of Bailey's.
Okay.
Yeah, right. We put all of our reports on there.
Okay. So they've got a report that basically all it does is show the difference between the cash and the accrual method. And so they take our numbers and filter them through accrual, and then they have a difference in the other column. And so that is really helpful when you're trying to look at it, their method versus ours.
Is there one method that would allow us to react quicker than the other one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, cash probably, if we're keeping track of our cash balances, cash probably allows us to react quicker, because cash method, you take it out and put it in revenues and expenditures when they occur. So when you write a check and it gets cash, that comes out, just like your personal finances. Whereas accrual, when you're going to get money, like it's been committed, we're going to get $2 million of ARPA money, that gets put in. Although for some reason they didn't put this in until for whatever reason they didn't put the revenue in until we reported expenditure. My understanding of accrual, usually they would put that in as soon as we got the ARPA money on paper, which would have been back in 2020 or something. And then the expenditure wouldn't happen until you approve the expenditure, not necessarily when you pay the money out, but when you approve it.
See, that's what Columbus Junction does on their ambulance. They're on accrual. So they're always looking ahead and anticipating what they're gonna get and to me, it's not confusing, but
the main problem
I like to know where I'm at right now, not where I'm gonna be.
Especially with an ambulance service like that, is they don't get all of the revenue they're planning on. So if you're using accrual and you're planning on $100,000 in revenue and you only get 50 because people don't pay their medical bills, then your books
you're all messed up.
50,000 in the hole right away.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was my initial thought, was, geez, maybe we need to switch back to accrual. But after talking with Brian, he did not recommend that. He says we're good with the cash.
I'm sorry. Vicki, did we move to doing cash when we went to Encode?
I think it was version 10. I think it was when we moved versions of the programming is when it switched to the cash basis.
That's what I
think we'd have to probably switch programs again and that.
And I'm okay with where we're at. We're just gonna have to keep our finger on the pulse a little better here on where we're at. And not just let the truck roll down the hill.
Well, no, I don't deal with the truck.
I know.
I deal with the load.
I don't understand.
That
We're just gonna have to be more vigilant on where we're at.
Yeah.
Knowing where we're at right now.
Yeah, the treasurer, in talking with Vicky and looking through some of her stuff, the treasurer doesn't look at the individual fund balances like the auditor does so much. They look at like the big picture. We have kind of like the audit reports, where it talks about our total funds and being invested and whatever. It's like they're mixed by the time they get to her and are invested. So she's not keeping as much of an eye on individual fund balances as she is bulk amounts.
Well, I guess when I said we, I meant
the county.
yeah, not we.
Sure. Yeah.
Bad term, I guess.
Okay, why isn't Hyde Bailey COVID? They quit coming here. Why they're not here right now?
That's a good question. I would ask, and I did not have that conversation with them.
And also too, I wonder why, and I got 2 pages of questions, and it's actually, I think, I don't know how many's on here, but I just wrote down all these questions, and I like to sit down with them and ask these questions. And why was it so long for the ARPA funds to show up? That's a big.
Yeah, he says
big problem.
And I didn't think about it fast enough to follow up with him on that. I don't understand why, and he could explain it, I'm sure, but my understanding of accrual is it would come in when it's committed. And so when the federal government committed to giving us that money, it should come in as revenue. And then it should go out as expenditure when we reported it as expended to the federal government. So I don't understand that piece of it as to why the revenue wasn't reported until
We got it 3 years ago.
Right.
Well, we got it in 2 payments, didn't
Right.
we?
But we had three payments. We had one that was a COVID emergency.
Yeah, so our cash
for salaries.
Our cash method would have reported like $1 million one year and $1 million another year, whereas their accrual method reports all 2.1 at the same time.
And then my other questions are gonna be, why wasn't we put a lot of trust in our auditor to give us where we're at, kind of the heat of the moment, what we got for money, where we're at, and we never got any bells, whistles. We went into this year thinking we still had 450,000 in our ARPA funds. We still thought we had money into our county home budget of $392,000. And then we find out that everything's zero. This is not you, this is previous.
I was just wondering what the county home fund is, because I looked, me and Vicky both, and
It was gone in
No.
2018.
But we never knew that money was gone. We always said that money is separate investment.
The auditor, it was expended by the board.
But these are the questions I have. I have a lot of questions, and I want these questions answered.
You can ask him that, but he's probably not gonna know that. So
No.
they don't red flag deficit spending.
Right.
They assume that you're doing it on purpose, and so they don't red flag that. They red flag if something's stolen or if it doesn't match. Or if we take money out of the fund and forget to put it back in or something like that, that there's documentation of. If they catch that, then they, I think they call them adjustments. They notify us, and that's actually toward the end of the audit report. And they may have 5 adjustments throughout the year that they catch for us that we didn't catch on our own, and so they note those and suggest that we have more staff or whatever working on the budget so that we can do financial reports on our own and catch those things.
And another thing
And
too.
they do note they note the deficit spending, they just don't red flag it. And then the rural services fund in the last 2 budgets they have noted has been negative, and more negative in the 2023 year than the 2022 year.
They pick the criteria that they're gonna randomly look at. Correct? When they do their audit, they'll pick out 20 things that they want to look at, just random, right?
They look at the entire budget.
Do we tell them what to look at?
They randomly select like
That's
property
fine.
taxes,
Right.
a parcel here, a parcel there, out of tax statements. And then they follow it through from the abstract through the payment
Yeah.
and see where that money went and everything. They send me probably 25 different parcels that they want me to send them that information on.
And that's just on the tax part of it.
That's just on the tax, and that's the part I deal with.
Financials, they look at everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still go back to. How in the hell did they go 3 years without that COVID money even showing up?
And that'd be a question for him, and
Yeah.
the answer he gave me at the time was that the cash versus accrual, but I mean, I'm happy to follow up with him on that too, because my understanding would be that would, even an accrual method, that would go in when it's committed. So,
You would think it would, and then that would give us a real picture, and we had this picture that was not even active. We thought we had 1.6 plus COVID money. See where I'm coming from? And then they find out, okay, we didn't put the COVID money in, it's all gone, you're 1.6 behind. You would think over a period of time that COVID money would have been put into that somewhere. I don't know if general was the
well, I
place
mean,
to
it
put
wasn't
it.
put in our budget, so I mean,
Yeah.
we should have known internally. But yeah, that's a good question as to why it didn't go in earlier, even on accrual method, I don't know.
I'm almost wondering too, like I said. I'd like more detail of where the money went, and like we had. Monies that we slated for, like Columbus ambulance, we assumed. Ask out of you and me. That it was coming out of our county home fund. We'll have to find out. Our county
Been
home
gone
fund.
for 5 years.
Yeah.
Well,
We
I
did
mean,
not
the
know.
resolution says it was coming out of the jail fund.
Well, how that, even though we signed it, it was told, I would like to go back, I'm gonna go back and look at the meetings. But even though we signed a resolution that came out of the jail funds, it was told to us that once we had to do this to where we can take it out of our other funds.
But then that never happened. And
It never
probably
happened.
wasn't money.
So. There's a lot of things that didn't happen. And there's also there's 50 to 75,000 on that same conversation that we still don't know where it came from.
Right, 150 was cut to Columbus Junction ambulance,
Right.
Wise County ambulance, and only 100 was taken out of that jail fund, which did not have 100 in it. It only had like 13,000 in it.
So where'd that come from?
Deficit spent as well.
Yeah.
The general reserve.
Yeah. There was a lot of things that happened that, I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but is it something that we look at? I've been looking into a little bit about forensic auditing and going through and kind of goes in and find out where things are spent, kind of put a tail to the ghost to figure out where it's at. But like I said, we need to answer some questions, and I don't know if this question today. I know you recommended that we sign this thing and just basically it's a format on it, but.
Well, I recommended you not sign it last time if you didn't fully understand and have opportunity to make
Yeah,
questions about it.
Reading your comments on it, so I understand it more. And I'm not gonna sign it till the board gives us authorization to sign it. But there's a lot of questions that I'm not done with them with.
Sure.
And I don't know what our next step should be, but I think we have problems here. I've never seen where anybody's pulled money out of. Like to pull money for the jail out of the jail that was nothing to do with the jail.
Well, I mean, that's.
It was
operating
only
expenditure.
till the amendment can be done is what
But the amendment didn't get
Resolution
done. Yeah.
well, I haven't found the amendment yet, cause I need to do some more looking.
But we looked to see if revenue went back in, and we didn't find any, right, going back into the jail, to that jail fund.
Be honest, I can't remember. There's so many things
Yeah, I know,
going on.
What's our next step?
as far as,
Answering our questions. Because it don't sound like Ide Bailey's gonna be the one to answer our questions. They're saying that we gotta have more staff to do a better job of.
internally, well, we definitely do need to do a better job internally of managing our money, if there's a question about that.
So what are we gonna do to answer our questions? Where do we go now?
Well, I would start with Ide Bailey, if you want to hire an outside firm to do a forensic audit, that's absolutely something that the county can do. Generally, a forensic audit is done when there's wrongdoing suspected. I don't have any reason to believe at this time that there was any wrongdoing. Just massive deficit spending and some, at least one error.
Well, the only wrongdoing I can see is the information given back to us where we set that financially. To me, that's just as bad as.
Yeah, I don't, other than the one error of the beginning balance estimate by the previous auditor for this fiscal year, I don't see. There's no document that shows me the board was given misinformation. It's all publicly available information that I was able to find by talking to the auditor and the treasurer. So
I think every time we discussed our spendings, we had information of how much funds we had available to spend. So I kind of see what you're coming from, but when we get, it's not like saying we don't have any money to spend. This is what we have in this account to spend. This is where we have. So if we're getting information like that to make decisions, where do you point to blame it? If we're being told that there's money in a fund that we can spend, like starting our budget this year, it was passed on down to our billings for when she stepped down that we had $475,000 in COVID money.
well, what I don't have any information on that.
No, I'm just
why do
asking
you
you.
believe that? Like what?
Yeah,
Were you told that by the auditor verbally? Was it in a document?
absolutely. We're told that.
All I can tell you is there's $433,000 in COVID money still in IPay for that. But on my end, I'm the cash part. I hold all those monies. I don't see what's in the fund because that's a whole different thing. So if somebody asks me how much money do we have in COVID money, I'm gonna tell you 433,000.
Yeah.
Because that's what I see, but that doesn't mean that you don't already have it earmarked for something. So I don't know. If somebody calls and asks.
No,
I'm gonna tell you that.
agree with that.
So,
Because,
okay, just
You're
wanted
you're
to,
talking about the ARPA money, not the county money.
yes,
Yeah, like the ARPA money, there's
county money is another question. I want to ask.
yeah, there's $400,000 sitting in an account right now, but we're 1.4 million or something in the hole in our general.
I get
So
that.
that's why there's that difference.
But when we're told that's what we have to work with, there's the direction I want to go to. I'm not saying anybody put it in their pocket, but when we're getting misinformation, there's where I want the answers. This person here, we're not the auditors. We're going by information that is given to us to make sound decisions. And if we're getting wrong information,
How can we make good decisions?
how can you make good decisions?
Well, I mean, so saying that there's $400,000 in ARPA money from the treasurer's perspective, there was never, it doesn't appear that there was ever a line item created for the board to spend the ARPA money and to bring the ARPA money in. So
I
that's
did
probably-
create it, but it was not used. It was taken out of a different GL account. And I had talked to you when I figured that out, wondering why that had happened, because I had created a revenue line to put the ARPA money in, and I created an expenditure line, so that would be the one that would be where it was spent.
Yeah. So all those funds.
And it
should
started
be
being
spent
spent
out of that.
and
Yeah.
line item.
And this was previous to our current staff. So, but we was told that we had this money here, and I'm not gonna sleep until we get this figured out, because we was told what we have to spend, what we got to do, what projects.
She was told to put money back in it. With lost money probably 3 years ago.
Well, is there a resolution that directed?
We just gotta look at all that stuff.
I doubt.
One thing that's gonna
Just
save us,
told
we're all
us.
recorded 100%, so if we have to, we can go back and look, but we need to. And I don't wanna let this.
Well, any verbal thing that the board says to the auditor, unless you pass a motion or a resolution, isn't binding.
Well, anytime we do funding, we always do a resolution and vote.
Sure.
So it's documented.
Yep.
And we'll also document on our motion where we want the money to come from. So it don't necessarily means it ended up coming out of that fund. It's like, and I'm saying, it just sounded like they did what they needed to do to make the books look right. I'm gonna say that, it's because find out that we didn't have COVID money into that, and we were supposed to have 400,000 left, and we thought we had $375,000 left in our county home land sale budget that we kept for a rainy day, and it's been gone since 18.
Yeah, and in 2018, there was the last 71,000.
Do you think we ever heard anything about that? No.
Well, I mean,
But this
I
person
shouldn't
is
say,
our,
the expenditures are authorized by the board, so.
right, but our information comes from our board secretary, which is the auditor. And if the information that the board secretary that works for the board to keep the board information up is telling us one thing, and then we have another thing going on, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and I don't know if she gave you faulty information or not, I have no idea.
It's on camera, so.
The only thing I know is what's on paper and the fund balance that was obviously not correct at the beginning of this fiscal year that we're currently in.
I'm just stating the fact that this has got us all, every time we turn around, we find out short 100,000 here, 100,000, money was taken from this account instead of this account.
I'm not saying that was taken or anything, but we never knew what was in our bank account until we got a new auditor.
Truly.
Our
And we had no
budget,
questions.
our budget was propped up and
The bank accounts were okay, the funds were screwed up. The
Yeah.
bank accounts have always been.
The bank accounts are okay because
Yeah.
that's, you know, secondary road.
We're not.
The funds balance.
Break down, what we worked out.
Yeah, I'm just upset where we was getting our information from the person that's we trusted that was telling us what we have in our to spend. We wasn't getting that information correct.
Well, and if I can speak right now, I was in that office when this all took place, and most generally, I know Bailey talked to me about the bids, all the construction that was going on for the cement work, the jail and the sheriff. He was asking me to see the publication where we put it out for bids, and that was not done. It was all hand picked or decided, and then the bills started coming in. So, you know, I'm just saying, I'll look back that I've looked for Bailey and cannot find publication where bids were submitted and open. I think there was one that I found for the cement work. So
The windows were all publication. Yeah. We just gotta look.
Would it make a difference to have the state start doing it instead of Bailey?
we've looked into that, and they will not,
If I could.
they can't take anybody.
Interject this, I talked with Adam last week, and our phone company, when I was the manager there, we had a company out of Des Moines that done our audit. And I asked him, I said, this Bailey's from Dubuque. And this company does the county of Dubuque and the city of Dubuque's audit. So why isn't Bailey? My question was, why isn't Bailey doing that? And I have that contact information if you want that.
Why isn't Bailey doing what?
Dubuque City and the county.
Oh,
But I have the contact, it's called Forbes. And I have the principal's email address and phone number. I'm sharing that with Taylor Collins also. So if you'd like that, or somebody would like that, I've got that information.
yeah, there are many other auditors, no outside auditors can make a red flag. That's spending, they're only gonna catch, wrongdoing or errors. But yeah, Des Moines County uses an outfit out of Ottumwa, I think, and there are accounting firms all over that do municipal and county audits.
Then why didn't they catch?
And we put it out for bid, and this is the only one that come in. When we
As far
lost
as,
when the state,
seeking bids for the
Yeah,
audit, we're doing.
we always put it out there, but we're small enough potatoes, this is what we get.
Yeah, if the state doesn't have the capacity to take on any more clients, then that's not an option. But the city of Wapello, when I was on the council, did had the state do audits, and I always thought they did a really nice job. But again, the audit does say that there was deficit spending, and the audit does say that the fund balance for the rural services fund was negative as of June 30, 2023, and even the year before. So they did note those things.
17,022, right?
It was like 4,000 or 5,000 in 22, and
Yeah, it was really low amount.
50-some thousand in 20.
Yeah, and we didn't see the 23 one, or yeah, 23 one just till
Yeah, I forget when the draft came out, but
2 weeks ago, maybe.
last month's, but
So, Adam, question, on the deficit spending, you know, there's years like when we, you know, we go bridge or something, right?
Yep.
We deficit spend
right.
half a million.
Yep.
Is that?
So they wouldn't reflect that.
Okay, yeah, right. That's intentional spending and it's something we do and all that, but do they, like, how does that appear to them? I'm wondering, you know, at the beginning of the month, do they have a, you know, balance of all their accounts, kind of like we do at church, right? We've got in this fund.
Bailey doesn't, they only look at it yearly.
Okay, I was wondering in the future if maybe the board could have a monthly update of where they are on all their funds. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
help to advise them, you know, at the end of every month, you know, I know where we are in roads. Every line item, we say, okay, we spent 25,000, we got 27 left. We're gonna be tight on this and all that, you know.
Yeah, every department head gets those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I emailed the.
Sure, I just wondered if a board had something like that to help them make their decisions, right? So you.
I do each department so they get the board of supervisor one. That I can sure start emailing all the departments to you.
Well, yeah, I don't care for us about anything else, but it seems like they seem to be lacking some information to make the decisions. If there's a better format for them to make the decisions, but
We're getting a version that's not correct.
well, that's not very good then.
No,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna back down on that. I don't care if it's court of law or what, but we're not getting that right information. And so, this is gonna be another day, because we're not gonna get it resolved, but we do have to meet with him, and we just need to go to the next step. I don't know, we gotta get this thing answered. Where is the information we got? Why is some of the things happen? It just don't make sense that somebody that's supposed to be giving us financial, we meet once a week. And when these questions come, when we ask about money, we get what we thought was an accurate statement of what we got. It was not accurate. So where decisions were being made with incomplete data and wrong data at times, it sounds like. And this all came to light this year. Yeah, we knew 6,000, I think it was $6,000 we was over on secondary rural expenses, but that's nothing when you got money coming in for different. I mean, that's really low. I mean, as far as what we
it also showed like a $700,000 deficit spending in the general fund,
but we didn't see that until this report.
no, it was in the 2022 fund,
But we still showed $1.6 million coming in.
yeah, in this report.
Yeah. So we had a lot of information that wasn't accurate, so. I don't know where we're gonna get it from.
I can't speak to what you got from the auditor and what you didn't.
I'm just asking
Looking at writing, or, you know, I don't know.
what you recommend before we go next.
I think, well, there's two different issues. One is auditor issues and one is internal auditor issues. And the internal auditor issues, where to go next is probably figuring out what happened with Selena's office prior to her being the auditor, and also making sure it doesn't happen again. So putting in place some systems like the board gets a monthly update on where all the fund balances are. Now, I mean, if you're spending out of the correct funds and you're looking at the budget, you shouldn't ever go over budget in the fund balance. The fund balance should be like your your backup catch.
Not a usage.
Yeah, I mean, you should, if you're going over budget in your single fund balances, that should be the red flag. I know it is for us department heads. If we go over, we're okay, that's a problem. We need to look at our entire budget, then look at our budget balance. And make sure we're not going to be over budget for the year. But as far as the audits, the outside audit, the next step, I think, is talking to IBA right now.
But I also feel that it's important that, like the jail, Susie, if she gets that report every month and it showed an $80,000 dispersal, that she approaches someone, I would assume it's the board, and say, hey, I don't know what's going on here. And
I don't,
so that we can,
I mean, we have the same sheriff and chief deputy, but we did not have the same jail administrator then, I don't think. And it happened again this year. Now it was funds going in and coming out, and I can't remember what that was. I don't know if Celine remembers. We've been over so many different things. There was another like 100,000 that went in and came out.
It was like 86 left it.
Do you remember what that was? But it went in and came out. But they noticed that this year, and Susie brought it to our attention, and so we looked at it, and it was something that had gone in and come out. I think in 2 separate fiscal years.
Yeah.
and I think the forum to do that would be at a board meeting, not just go to some board member on the street corner or go to the auditor and,
right,
and not get an answer. This is the forum to say, hey, so we have an answer.
why is that coming out?
Right.
Yeah, I would think. Now their budget's much larger than mine. My budget's, 1 page. So if somebody took $100,000
Right.
line items, I would
Right.
know.
Well, and it doesn't have to be that big of an amount. It could be $20,000 out of the jail fund, or something that looks relatively small. It could be a car or a truck,
Right.
but it's not out of that specific line item. It's out of telephones for some reason or something.
Right.
I check mine every month and make sure it matches to the claims that I submit.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything that came out of my lines matches. what
And it
I
could be
wanted.
for a specific reason, maybe it's an adjustment, but it still needs to be discussed. Because I don't always, we can't talk outside this room unless there's been notified. So if Susie goes and talks to Brad, I don't know about that thing unless she comes to me.
Yeah, and like this most recent one, it was brought up in a board meeting. I don't know if you guys were part of that conversation, but Susie and me and Brandon, and then we talked to Selena, and we got it figured out. So there's no need to come to the board formally at that point. But yeah, the one from a few years ago, 2022 or whatever it was, that should have been brought to somebody's attention.
You're right, and there could be
But then the explanation, I mean, if they check with the auditor would say, well, we're authorized $100,000 expenditure out of that fund for ambulance loan,
Then
so
they
then that would be the end of it. They probably wouldn't have come to the board unless they wanted to know why you were taking $100,000 out of jail.
I think they should have,
Sure.
because that has nothing to do with the jail. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking money from your department to give it to the treasurer. I mean,
Well, I mean, you did.
That's approved budget, but we
Yeah.
can't. That's what I'm at.
Thank you, but no.
Yeah. Well, I got 50, I count them up. I got 52 questions I'd like to have answered, so.
Okay, well,
So let's go to, is that the iPhone?
Yeah, here's.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, I'm late. I clicked on a Teams meeting instead of a Zoom meeting, so I was sitting in the lobby of a Teams meeting. I'm not really sure how that happened, but I apologize for.
that's okay. We're running a little over anyway, so.
I should probably quick introduction. I'm Brian Hunson. I'm the partner on the Louisa County financial statement audit, and here to answer any questions.
you want me to start with
Go ahead.
what I talked to you guys about already? So, hey, Brian, Adam Parsons here. I'm the county attorney. We spoke by email a couple of times.
Yep.
Yeah, so where you directed me and the information you gave me was very helpful. looking at the 2023 budget, it looks like, or I'm sorry, the audit report, it looks like there's a fund balance of 1.4 million, but you explained that that included the ARPA money of 2.1 million. So assuming that was spent in this year, I mean, that would account for about $600,000 deficit if we spent the 2 million and only had 1.4. And then we had 10% raises last year that would have accounted for a little over $500,000. So those two combined, I think, add up to where we think we're at now. Does that all make sense to you?
Correct. A couple things. So this is the fiscal year 23 audit. It is accrual basis. So the budget's on cash. So I think those are the two obstacles that I have, at least in my mind. The audit is very backward facing, the budget is very forward facing. So to bridge that, especially when we, working on 25's budget, but we're looking at 23's audit, there's a whole year there that kind of that we need to bridge. But yes, when you're looking at the audit and you're talking balances, you'll want to focus on the cash balance. In the cash balance, say of like the general fund of 1.4 million is a good number. That includes the treasurer's cash as well as any cash held by any of the outside offices for the county. So that's not going to technically, not agree dollar to dollar to the treasurers, which is on your general ledger, because of those, adjustments for the sheriff's office. So if the sheriff's office is holding any cash, or the recorder's holding any cash for the county at June 30th, those numbers actually get included in there. But well, yes, I would say, the general fund cash balance at June 30th was, close to 1.5 million.
Okay, so my only follow-up to that in talking with the board, and it may just be my rudimentary understanding of accrual basis accounting, is that it would show revenues when they are planned or approved to come in, and expenditures when they're planned or approved to go out, not necessarily when they're received or expended. Is that correct?
It is not when they're received or dispersed, so that would be the cash basis. So that's your budget. It's when you earn them or when you have a payable or have received the services.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yep.
my question then about the ARPA funds coming in on the 2023 audit report. So those funds were approved to be received and actually were received in years prior. So wouldn't both accrual and cash basis show them coming in before the 2023 budget?
So those monies is grant revenue. So it's non-exchange revenue. And it is considered earned when you tell the federal government what you spent it on. So it does not actually hit revenue in the financial statements until fiscal year 23, which is the year that the report was sent to the feds saying that you spent it on salaries. So that's when it actually hits revenue.
So then when would the expenditure be noted in your accrual audit?
So this is a pretty rare case. Those expenditures that were sent to the feds. So this was, it has not been a normal 4 years. And ARPA money is definitely not normal, but it was reported to the feds in 23, but a lot of those expenditures, it really got disconnected from those expenditures, because those expenditures were going to take place at any, they were payroll expenditures. So you've basically used the federal monies for those general fund expenditures, which frees up that money to spend on what, I don't want to say whatever you'd like, but any governmental expense. And hopefully Sandy explained that when that report was filed. That was so the ARPA money basically had a $10 million, what they call a standard deduction, and you fell below that. So you could take the standard deduction and basically get out of all the federal requirements of that funds. So if you use that money, say for capital projects, you'd be subject to all of the federal procurement rules, suspension, debarment. So in order to kind of alleviate that, and then there's also the time frame on the ARPA monies, it was reported to the feds as salaries. So, and some of those salaries could have took place in fiscal year 23, 22. So I'm not really sure I'm answering the question other than the ARPA money is very strange. The revenue was able to be recorded in 23 because it was reported to the feds as being spent. But there was no direct correlation to any new or different expenditures.
So some of those funds were already spent through the general fund and some will be spent in this coming year then.
Yes. So the one thing that if I could turn back time, a lot of people took the ARPA money and put it in a special revenue fund. Louisa, you didn't have to. Louisa County did not. They kept it within the general fund. So there really is in the financial statements, there's no running total of, hey, we received 2 million, we've spent this much on a parking lot, this much on a roof. There is none of that within this report.
We should have done that.
It would have made things easier, or more transparent on what you actually spent the funds on.
And I think we did set up a fund, but it somehow got ran through the general fund anyway. We at least set up line items for that. I think I understand as much as I'm going to about the difference in a cash and accrual and how that resulted in the difference between our fund balance and the fund balance that's shown on the 2023 audit report. I think the supervisors probably have some more questions for you though.
Sure.
What I got 52 questions, and I sat down here, and it didn't take me long to put them down, but I'd really like to know, I don't know how we're gonna figure this, but where all the monies that we showed that it was gonna come out of, like ARPA, we had a county home fund, and all this that we designated because we was told that there was money there to spend. Where did it actually come out of? If that went to wages, then that really gets me shook to the core of where did it actually come from. And I have 52 projects that I can remember that I put down here, and I'd like to know where that money came from. If the other stuff was designated for wages, then where did 52 projects monies come from? And it's something that, and also too, in the future, I know COVID screwed this up, but I think our audits ought to be done in person, and I'd definitely like to see you to explain on every audit in person, because we can usually just get, and I understand COVID where nobody wanted to be around anybody, but we get something in the mail, but COVID's over with, and I'd like to see the people doing our audits in person. And
Sure.
To me, I think audits ought to be done in person. That way you're not relying on information somebody sends you for the accuracy, but that's just my thoughts. But I do have 52 questions. I'd like to know the answer to 52 questions about where the money come from if it wasn't coming from COVID, that we anticipated that it was going to come from COVID.
Instead of sitting here and going through all 52 questions, would it be better use of time to send him those, get the answers, and then we can review them at another meeting?
I didn't plan on sitting here going through the 52, but I want answers to my 52 questions.
Sure, send them our way. I will do my best. I'm just trying to find exactly.
But I still like to have you here.
Yeah, that is not a problem at all. We like to be there, especially for the August trip where we do the outside offices because it's easier to do that. Some years it works, some years it doesn't. But yeah, we are not opposed to being on site. That is for sure. I'm just trying to. I don't believe a separate ARPA fund was ever set up. because Adam's right. Sometimes we'll like that general fund, um, in the financial statements, that includes more than just what you would consider general fund, which is 001. That also includes the health insurance fund. Um, but I believe in general sup, but I don't believe the the $1 million were received in fiscal year 21 and $1 million was received in 22. I don't believe those were set out up outside of 001.
I don't think,
Yeah, Brian, this is Selena. Those were set up in the general fund under their own GL account. I did a revenue one.
Yep.
I did a expenditure. But for some reason, the bills got paid out of our general fund maintenance line instead of the ARPA GL number. It wasn't its own fund like our opioid money is its own fund.
Right.
And this ARPA money was told to us to put under the general fund, but they're its own GL number.
Yeah, so within the special revenue funds are set up so you kind of just have your own balance sheet of those monies. So the general fund or the ARPA money would not have that. You'd almost need to keep like a spreadsheet of here's the $2 million coming in. These are the specific items that we spent it on.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, in the Fed's eyes, that was spent on payroll, and that was done to get out of the federal regulations that you would have had to jump through if you use federal dollars versus county money. So, and that was done on purpose and kind of just to help things along, to free that money up under some of those federal restrictions, which is a great thing to do. And most counties under 10 million did something like that because it just made sense.
But then didn't the federal tell us once we had the money that we could spend it on projects that were like had been in the works, or because we couldn't spend it on like a project, like a new project?
No, you could spend ARPA. So ARPA usually has like 4 buckets. One's like water and communications. The because you're under 10 million, you were able to use the lost revenue bucket, which is the most generous bucket there is. So that's the bucket that was used, and would have been used if you would have reported salaries or if you would have reported, like the scanning project. Um, it would have came from the same bucket in the ARPA's mind. It's confusing, but it's what kind of makes it confusing in the general ledger. Um, is just because it was reported, it becomes revenue, but the funds should still be there based because you used it on salaries. There should be a running total of what monies you actually used that $2 million for. What projects did you use the $2 million for? That, but like I said, that's not in the general ledger, and that list doesn't affect your revenue within the statements. Cash basis, it was considered receipted when you received it. Accrual basis is when you tell the feds you spent it, which would have been fiscal year 23. So, but I know there's a separate iPaid account that has funds in it, but I'm not sure how often transfers from that account happened when, projects came up that were considered ARPA funded. So I'm really not aware of a good list of.
I kept a binder of that, Brian. This is Vicky. the treasurer. I have
Yeah,
a binder of that, and every time they wanted money moved from that ARPA fund, I made them give me something, what it was for. And I
perfect.
tracked that in that binder of what came out of there and for what it was for. So I have all that in a binder in my office.
So there should be a good balance of what was left as of June 30th or as of right now.
Yeah, well, I
You don't know whether.
yeah, if something didn't get reported to me, it's, yeah, I don't have it, but everything that's come out of there that I was told about, I have documentation on. And that's what gives me a balance in that account of 433,000 right now in that actual iPaid account. So. I don't know if that helps or makes things more confusing, but
It might answer some of my questions.
you can come over anytime and that,
Yep.
But I'm gonna send everything to him. I'd like to have him address it. What else we got, guys? Audience, what other questions we have for him? So do you have any questions for him? I am gonna send you my questions. I don't know if the other two gentlemen here have any questions, but I might type them up a little bit more legible. Because I was writing them, I was probably not in a very good state of mind because I was getting angry as I was writing them out. I'll send them to you.
Okay.
And, but I'd like to get with you once we get this on here. I don't care how we do it, but I'd even come up and see you. I don't care. But I need to get answers to these questions. If the money was spent for wages, where did these projects funds? I know the answer, but
How did we afford them or pay for them?
yeah, how did we pull all this money out without red flagging something over the last 4 years?
So the ARPA money was reported to the feds that it was used for wages, but that's not what pulled the money out of the iPaid account. Like Vicky was saying, those were actually the money was actually spent on the projects that Vicky was told to take the money out of. So if the balance is 400,000, she would actually have the list of what was actually the actual cash was spent on. That was reported to the feds for salaries for administrative ease. Maybe that's a good way to put it. It was an option available to the county to report it as salaries, so you wouldn't have to jump through as many hoops on those projects that you actually spent the money on. I don't
Or you just putting it from the left pocket to the right pocket.
yeah.
exactly.
The counting thing is all it is.
But if it causes us to spend it twice.
Yeah, we spent it twice with misinformation. That's what
It should not have been spent twice
it is.
because those things that it was reported to the feds for was things that you had to do anyway. I mean, those were salaries that you were going to incur regardless. I mean, those were sheriff, public health. Those are things that were budgeted for revenue, other revenues already, property tax dollars, what have you.
Brian, I think what happened was then the general fund looked artificially high, and so there was deficit spending going on over the last few years that reduced that general fund balance. And so then when it came time to pay for the projects, the money had essentially been spent down through deficit spending from the previous years. As noted in the 2022 audit report that you did that I looked back at, it looked like there was about 600 and some $1,000 in deficit spending in the 2022 year.
Yes, looking at the budgets, there is definitely a deficit in the general fund budgeted. Now, that's cash basis. So when we talk, ARPA, that money came in 21 and 22. So yeah, maybe there was a miscommunication there as far as those balances and what they were restricted for. But as far as like duplicating those expenses, I don't think that's what's going on.
I have a question too. You said something that red flagged me is that we reported to the feds that we used it for wages.
Yep.
First never heard that. Okay, so if we reported it as wages, we wasn't told that. And we didn't spend it all on wages, how legal is that? We're almost sound like we're federal government here making decisions that are not proper.
As far as the feds go, you spend it on wages, but that doesn't mean that, there's the expenditure and there's the actual cash sitting in the bank, right? Like, in order for administrative ease, it's easier to report the expenditures and get out of those federal requirements. But at the same time, politically, you want to spend those money on these projects over here. So that's all it is. It's kind of is like a right pocket to left pocket. But you do that because you can get out of those federal requirements. Otherwise, you might not have been able to do some of those projects that you wanted to do, or you would have had more cost in them because you would have had to do above and beyond procurement, suspension, debarment, other things that you would need to do for a federal expenditure versus a county expenditure.
I'd be upset if we took the easy route on every decision we had to make. I don't think that's the right way, but that's another question. But yeah, I just don't like that that we took the easy route. That just don't set good with me. It almost sounds like we committed fraud.
It's not fraud.
Okay,
it's not fraud. It's not fraud at all.
So what does it do? You just put lipstick on the dinner? Is that what we're doing? Or
No, you actually used the money on wages. You reported it that you used the ARPA on wages. And then that freed up the money, right, to use on something else. It's just an accounting procedure is all it is.
but we double spent that money.
Well, that's an internal problem.
Spending in the.
Yeah, that's not a.
So not what?
That's not an account. That's not his fault. That's the
No.
board's fault.
We're
If they've
going by
overspent.
only the information given to us, so it wasn't reported that we used it for wages. That's what I was getting at, Sean. It was told to us that we had it in account to use for projects.
Okay, well,
that's true too.
Yeah. And so if it was told to us we use it as wages or going to use it as wages, then we'd have an understanding, but we never knew that it was going to be. Did you, Chris, know it? And imagine if we talked to other ones.
Heard it today.
And Sean, this is your second budget. What did you hear we had in COVID ARPA money when you started? How much did you hear from the auditor?
well, there's been a lot of numbers been thrown around in the last 6 months, so it's a little hard to keep up with all.
But a year ago, even, I mean, when we did a budget a year ago.
I was told everything was fine.
Yeah.
I was told we had half of $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 to play with.
Yeah, and here we are to the
Yeah, I agree.
red that much.
Okay.
Should give us budget.
You did have that much in the ARPA fund, but you had deficit spent in the general funds more than that, or equal to that.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I have one question that if Nikki says there's $400,000 in the ARPA fund, how come you can't transfer that money back into the general fund? Because it's already been expended as wages.
You can, but it wouldn't fill the hole, and it's making.
But it'd be a large portion of the whole, instead of trying to do more projects with that $400,000.
Well, so that $400,000, there's still bills coming in for projects that have been completed or in process that haven't been billed yet. So the general fund pool keeps growing, and that 400,000 will be expended at some point, and for that.
Because I've been told it was earmarked for projects that are being done that haven't sent the bills yet.
The final.
Well, we just got.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna change the balance, because that total is in that general fund. It's not gonna change.
It's already accounted for.
It's already accounted for. It's already in that fund balance. It's not gonna alleviate the deficit that we have. Because basically that total that's already been accounted for, it's always been in that general fund. It was never subtracted out. when
Just on
everything was
paper.
done.
So that's the cash and the.
Yeah, because all the accounts, like savings accounts, checking accounts that I have, all that added together is all the money the county uses for the budget for all departments.
If it weren't for that, we'd be another 400,000.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Okay. More questions for Brian?
Okay, Adam's done an explanation of, the possible signing of representation of the letter from Mike Bailey. Is there any questions on that before we make a motion?
Make a motion, Chris? You want me to?
I'll make a motion to sign the number 2. I'll make a motion to sign the management representation letter from Ide Bailey. And I'd strongly recommend when you get done with our audit in August that you come and give the board a review of your findings. That's done yearly. Okay, that's my motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
One signature. Yes.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, Brian, I'll send them questions up to you. Thank you. But I think we'll be seeing each other quite a bit more, so.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good meeting.
Yeah.
You too, Brian.
Bye.
Okay, we got.
14, so like
How many is that?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
never
so I
heard
can
of
get out of
it.
here. Susan. Sorry.
Not you have anything to do today.
It's not like it's not like I have an election.
What do you think, Sue?
I'm 15 and 16, I believe.
15 and 16.
Okay.
Okay.
So 15 is, I basically just wanted to touch base on the, everybody's budget. I did find when I was reviewing the sheriff, they didn't, include the FICA and IPERS on their overtime employees, so I had to have them redo their budget. So Fund 2 did kind of get changed a little bit, but then their numbers in Fund 1 did go down. So now we're in a like deficit of 370,000 instead of like right at 400,000. So the numbers are better.
On that mistake, how much was that? And can we get that back like, Brad's gonna retire in April and still before this, is there a way that we can hold off, bringing people up to the wages till we get that budget in line?
I haven't figured out what the number is yet for the current budget, because he didn't do, the IPERS and FICA didn't get adjusted correctly for the 23-24 budget. So I have not got those numbers yet, unfortunately.
But you gotta have a sheriff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
No, but-
essentially the sheriff is required, either Brandon will be the acting sheriff, or you'll appoint him as sheriff, or somebody else as sheriff, I shouldn't say that. And so the sheriff's salary is not gonna be a savings, but in talking with Brandon, it's my understanding he's going to delay the appointment of a chief deputy. So there'll be a little bit of savings.
And that's what I was wondering, if we could do that to get the savings, to get this money paid back, keep us down, because it's.
Yeah, and there's also a deputy that's leaving. I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
No.
So there will be an opening created, and so if there was some delay in filling that position, that would also save some money in this budget year. But I don't know what his plans are, but I haven't. That's like brand new information.
So if we do it that way and then pay it back.
That will help the fund at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So then, number 16, I have to wait for their approval to publish because I need to find out what the results are for the election, because if the election does go through, then this will change the publish, the form and everything. So, but I do need, approval to set a date for the proposed, tax levy notice so I can get it in the computer system. And I'm thinking the date, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to step up here because Selena's got my notes. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to get here, sorry.
April 1st is what you were thinking.
I'm thinking April 1st. It has to be a different board meeting than the regular board meeting for this public hearing because it's a public meeting, public hearing. So I didn't know if you guys were available possibly April 1st because I have to publish it 10 days before that also. So I didn't know if that was a good day.
It's an interesting day, you should.
No, I know, but then you guys have a meeting the very next day that we can set the hearing for the second public hearing that we have to hold.
It's just ironic with based on what has happened.
Sorry.
April Fool's Day.
If you want to, but
Yeah, please show up. It's
8:30.
that's fine. That's fine.
That's fine. If
Okay.
that's what you want, that's.
Okay, you wanna, let's make a motion? Have to get a motion on this.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve and publish the set date for the property tax levy.
We're just gonna approve to set the date, not publish.
Right,
And you're gonna make the date April 1st,
April 1st at 8:30. Yep.
is that the motion?
that's the motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to.
We have something to sign on that.
Morning sun, and then I'll go all the way to.
I didn't know. I just-
No, no, I don't think so.
You get the signature page on it.
For,
The site date.
no, there's no signature.
Sure.
And, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was discussion of possible action to somebody.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can Sean make a?
We do
number
number 18.
Real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the Junction Bar and Grill liquor license.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Actually, alcohol license, class C.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. And you've both seen Morning Sun, and who has that? Andrew?
It was here. I would like you to look at the highlighted areas that I highlighted. Those are the expenditures that the supervisors are funding. The two top items is the ones that I want you to be aware of. The building and the ambulance. Those are the two that the supervisors are specifically paying for. From what I can see in his spreadsheet. Because they're not up on their own personal ones, so. When and if the day comes, he comes in and says that. Supervisors don't provide anything for him, because he's already been here and said that, hey, where's my cut? He's actually using our money to pay for the ambulance and the building. Amongst other things. You see where I'm coming from?
Software, yes,
Okay.
office supplies,
Right.
medical records, fuel, building and ground maintenance. Ambulance payment. Building loan. 38 or 3480, 45.
Times 12 is your 40 some thousand a year. I just thought it was important information for you to see what our money's being used for. For 8 calls, 2 months.
It's electric doctor, general club at GC.
Probably is breakdown type thing.
It's on that same thing as that miscellaneous. Okay, so let's see, and you got the annual report yet on there?
That's right.
Okay.
This will be-
Get that put down here.
Did you all get the email I sent out about the ambulance?
Yes.
Issue, okay,
But it wasn't on our agenda.
sure, I just want to make sure that they got it.
I'm not,
We probably ought to put it on.
It was about the loan issue that was on the agenda from last time.
The options.
Did you guys see it?
Yeah,
Double check, but
that must be copied.
I-
Yeah, I can resend it out.
yeah, yeah, I don't recall seeing that. I've seen a lot of emails, but I don't remember seeing anything about it. There you go. If I did, I overlooked it. Which email did you send it to? Do you know?
Just found it, it's, your county.
Okay. And when did you send it?
Sure, partners.
You mean resend it?
Yes, send it now if you can, please. I'll
no,
double check.
Just.
Okay, thank you. So what's number 14 about?
we're trying to find it.
Well, it's about, everyone has to sign or do a 509. This year because. If our health insurance expense. Goes over 2.3% of our expenditures. We have to file a 509A and Nyhart Service Agreement or Nyhart Service has said they could do this. They're getting the information from Assured Partners, which is our health insurance, the group benefits.
Their expenditures went over?
Pardon?
Our expenditures went over?
No,
For health
Did
insurance,
it?
yes. First time ever.
I thought there was gonna be way under, when we got that report from.
That's what I
Back
was
the other
under the assumption. That everything was good and the account was good, that's probably left it at 0. Right?
Right.
That was last.
But I was gonna have you sign the agreement. It was gonna be like, I think.
I mean, we had plenty in the account, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but I want you to hold off on signing it because I wanna see if Jerry is helping them, if it's still going to cost us.
Can we know how much we went over? Is that in the report?
I'd have to talk to Jerry.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Let's make a motion to postpone it.
Yeah, table it.
I'll make a motion to table number 14.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Table to next.
Because if we're significantly over, then we're gonna have to relook at that next year in budget season or insurance time and make some adjustments.
Well,
I mean, if we're talking
it's
$5,000.
health insurance, claims, and we've had several new people come on to our
That's fine.
health
I'm
insurance.
just saying if it's substantial, we'll have to,
Yeah,
these guys won't be here, but we'll have to remember that to make some adjustments for next year. Okay, is that it?
Yes, that is it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
The meeting is adjourned. I can see it.
yeah, I mean, it's there. And it's so many hard.
It's not my expense. Not a good idea to go to people's state. No, I don't. These guys, these corpus, they can.